All right, this is another episode of The Peace Build with Shadow Work, and today I have another guest. And once again, the point of these conversations are to uncover anything that's getting in the way of your sense of peace, health, stability. Because at the end of the day, we're all already whole. It's just we have hidden things from ourselves in the shadows. So the point of this is to bring it to the light. So when this comes to mind, what comes up for you?
For sure. Well, what initially comes up are a ton of emotions. A feeling of gratitude for this moment, a feeling of sadness, because having to even, on one hand, having to work through some stuff is like amazing. And on the other side, it's like I'm working through some stuff and this is hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then also, I think about what is truly standing in my way. So there's a book that's called The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. And it talks about the mountain in our lives literally being ourselves. The mountain in my life right now is the vibration that exists within me, that has followed me around since I was born. And that has been a vibration of violence. And that has been a vibration of violence, particularly from men and women. I grew up in foster care. I was born in a foster care. I stayed in foster care until I aged out at 19. And then I was a homeless teen mom. And I was a homeless teen mom because, we often repeat what's not repaired. My mother was a teen mom. Her mom was a teen mom. I still carried that vibration. I became a teen mom and then was in a full-blown domestic violence relationship. And I was in a full-blown domestic violence relationship because of what I witnessed growing up in foster care. So my template for love, that programming, what was, uploaded to my spirit early on, was that love and pain go in tandem, and that violence should always be be in tandem as well with love. Present day, me being a fully adult woman, I'm just now in this year, I have rid myself from this vibration, and now I am living with the aftermath of what has been removed because the people are not around. Memories have been stored in my body. I go back and forth sometimes to the doctors not feeling well, and they cannot find anything wrong. The reason I booked my session with you is because last Thursday I received a very distressing text message from a man. And this man is someone that is very dear to me. I birthed this man. When I received the text message, my entire body felt like it was on fire, like someone had taken a hammer and hit me all over. And I realized the correlation between my stress and what's been going on in my body. There's that. But also in that moment, I was so upset that I was working on a project that hopefully will still happen, but I allowed the situation to upset me so much that I delayed the project by hours. And this was like this was a life-changing opportunity. I was so upset that I cried, and I could have continued working on it, but my soul was like, no, you need to sit in this. So yet again, I was slowed down by another situation. My body has been hurting, my consciousness has been hurting, and I had to make that decision to distance myself from my son for now, for my own well-being. I'm just going to keep it a buck. What I really need help with from a male's perspective why the fuck does this keep happening? And what is it that I can do to stop the calamity in my life? Because I know that my portion is to live in peace. And part of the answer for me means cutting people off that are abusive.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of this answer is, how do I manage in the aftermath of these people being gone and making certain that this is never happening again?
Mm-hmm. So because men and women are naturally supposed to be on the same team, I feel there is a sense of grief that is involved with this timeless partnership. Because it seems like, for me, a healthy dynamic between a man and a woman, it creates like a temple. Because there's a certain intimacy of communication that, in my experience, cannot happen between a man and a man. I don't know if it's the same for a woman and a woman, but for me, when it is a man and a woman, there's a certain level of union that happens that I don't see happening anywhere else.
I will add to that point and say that for women like me, whom have grown up without fathers,
Mm-hmm.
or mothers, but let's just go back to women that carry the father wound, they might not see the interaction as being safe for some women.
Right.
Some women may not know how to respect a temple,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. And then there have been times where I've experienced these intimate connections and conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed myself going into a subservient or little girl mode or
Mm-hmm.
wounded feminine mode
Mm-hmm.
With these men. And I think it's important also for those that you're working with, as well as myself, is to remember that.
Right.
Not that you don't, but yeah.
Right. No, that's true. When it becomes distorted, it can be very toxic.
Yeah.
And I feel that the distortion comes from men who don't recognize how to submit to that highest power because of grief on their part also. I mean, this is a huge systemic problem of familial disorganization because of so many things. I mean, we could attribute it to slavery, it could be the capitalism. I mean, there's so many things that get in the way of empathetic relationships. And for me, how to untap empathy is to get to the center of your experience through meditation, through eating well, through just paying attention to whatever's in front of you with absolute devotion. And this is what allows you to have communication with that highest power that I'm speaking about, or people call it God, some people call it the universe, whatever. And when there is a communication with that, there is a dissolution of the boundaries of this individual here, and then you merge with that, and then there's a natural sense of empathy with everything around you because you recognize that there is no wall between what I call as myself and everything else. And when this gets in the way, it's like you have exiled yourself from that inner temple. So now you don't even have the blueprint to create a temple between a man and a woman.
Wow. I can see how the distortion that I experienced has, I mean, yeah, it 100% has impacted my life. And once I woke up and realized that that mountain is something that I could conquer,
Mm-hmm.
I started to make that climb, if you will. And on that climb and reaching the summit, if you will, what I feel now is incredible exhaustion. I feel grateful, and also the ruminating thoughts, the sometimes feeling so saddened that I didn't protect myself. I didn't know how to. And I really grapple with, I'm going to use this word because this is how I feel. I really grapple with like the unfairness and the injustice. And when I started to do research, I saw that one of our core wounds is the injustice wound. And I could trace that back to my childhood. I just really want to live in freedom in my mind from this pain. And I really, sometimes the pain feels like agony, and I just want that to stop. Yeah. Because it disrupts my peace. And to ever see something from my son, it's just, I began to look in the mirror as a mom, and I say, okay, well, you had him at 17. You had him while you were in foster care. And the mother that your daughter has is vastly different from him, and hold him in the light and hold him in passion. And I do. And also, I am not willing to tolerate any more abuse. Yeah. So, not knowing how to, I'm just learning how to have safe relationships with men in the past few years. Having never learned that, and I'm learning how to really reside as a safe mom for my son. Never been being shown that. I think like the biggest thing with all of these people is like, where's the compassion and where's the grace for one another? That's the part that's hard. And when you go through this type of pain from people, and I've not gone into detail, but it's been pretty heavy, the disrespect. I think like for me, I don't want to lose my femininity, my softness, my femininity, because of, you get to a point where you become hardened from the world. And I'd love to be able to just know from you, I hear you on the meditation and the eating clean, and it's one thing to hear it and then implement it, right? So my assignment is implementing it. I'd like to know from a male perspective, is there like can men sense like a vibration on a woman, and then just that causes a certain type of man to attack a certain or treat a certain type of woman away? The reason I'm asking is there are so many women that I know or that I hear online, hear their stories, that have similar experiences to me, and they've gone through similar experiences with men. And it makes me believe that there's like an energetic magnetism that we draw in a certain type of man, and until that's healed, we keep on. So I also love to know from you, do certain predators, they sniff out those that are easy prey, and how can one change their magnetic energy?
So I don't like to make this comparison, but it's relevant for the conversation, because these kinds of men who are acting like animals, we have to use examples of the animal kingdom.
That's fair.
So in the wild, we can see that if there's a a pack of prey like impalas on a savanna, and there's a lion who's really hungry, who wants to eat. He's not going to go after the strongest impala. He's going to go after one that's limping.
Is that why they call, and I don't like to use labels, but I'm going to use it for context. Is that why they say that those that are on a narcissistic program will use and drain their supply and then they go on to the next? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah.
Do some men, do they lean so much into their primal instinct that they're disconnected from their heart and it causes this to happen?
Yeah. Because there is, we are human beings, so part of us is human and part of us is a being. And that human part has this attraction to animal behavior. And when we look at the whole dating game altogether, it is a game of hunting. If we look at it at the most primal level.
That's why they call you guys hunters.
Yeah.
And they say you guys like to chase. Is there compassion in that, though? Can there be compassion in the hunting aspect and the chase?
Yeah, there can. There's just
right intention.
There's different levels to what you can hunt for. And
wow. Bars.
And what
that makes me think about, like, do some men, do they hunt for truth? Do they hunt for, that's what came up for me when you said
right. So if you're a man like the Buddha, you're going to have everything a man could want in your immediate circumstance. You have women, money, clothes, status. Like, these are all the things that men at the base level desire the most. But because of the size of his consciousness, he's able to go after a larger bounty, which for him was truth, freedom, understanding, things like that.
Wow.
But if your consciousness has been shrunken due to trauma, then you're only going to want to go after the lowest hanging fruit, which is sex and domination, coercion, things like that.
What comes up for me when you say that is that one common denominator between every man that I've experienced this with is that they were not sexually disciplined. There was SA, right? Sexuals. There was porn addictions, things like that. That's very interesting. How, knowing this information, how can a woman get to a place in a space where she not only changes her, I'll start with this question, changes her magnetic energy. She's no longer prey.
Well, to become as strong as possible as a woman or a man, but in this case a woman, you have to reduce the level of compulsion in your life. Because this compulsion is what is going to leak out your energy and make you weak. It's going to give off.
Can you expand on that more?
Yeah, so if a woman knows she has certain vices that she gives into, like, I don't know, spending too much, watching too much television, eating certain kinds of foods that she knows she shouldn't eat, being attracted to drama because it's exciting, not because it has a long-term benefit, but just because it's immediately gratifying. Like, all of these things are compulsions, different forms of temptation that pull us into a tempest, a storm within our emotions and our thoughts and things like that. And the more you give into that, the more you will leak out your power as a woman. And the more you leak out your power, the weaker a signal you're going to put out into the field of this human savanna. And then because of that, you're going to attract a man who wants to take advantage of that weakness. Just like the lion wants to take advantage of a gazelle that's limping. But if you do an audit of all the compulsions that you have and you slowly bring them to a stop, now you're in this process of regaining your energy, you're pulling it back. And the more you do this, the stronger your energy will become. And now you have a certain level of pressure around yourself. And there's only certain people that can step into that field. There's a certain kind of quality of man that can step into that field and some who just cannot.
Received. What comes up for me is I had a compulsion to receive love. I had a compulsion to also save and rescue. The compulsion to receive love is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because I had been constantly searching outside of myself. I didn't know that I've never been out of love because I come from love. I also had a compulsion to save and rescue because I wasn't saved or rescued in foster care.
Yeah.
And I would attract men. Thank you for this, by the way. This processing helps. But I would attract men who needed that and or needed that energy and would siphon that because they were wounded. A wounded soul without healing will wound you. And now I'm sitting here in the aftermath. And I wanted to, when we're talking about changing our magnetic energy and whom we're magnetizing in our lives, remember I mentioned earlier that I don't want to lose my softness. My softness is a gift. It's something that also heals so many. I find myself at times teetering on the edge of bitterness. And I fight with that because it's like I understand that I understand that I have a right to my anger. And what's next? Not to stay in the state of rage. How could this person do this to me after all that I've been, for them? How could this person speak to me this way and have not any regard for my feelings? How could this person da 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 da? So I've looked at all of these things and I'm like, okay, again, this traces back to the type of people that were in your life because of your early dynamics. And the residual effects is that because these type of people were in your life and because these type of things went on so long, now I'm in recovery, picking up these pieces seemingly on my own. And I'm willing to do the work. I just feel slowed down by the pain at times. How does a woman maintain her softness, and how does a person become better and not bitter from situations that on paper one could easily say, oh, with the amount of stress or pain that this person has gone through, I can see why they went, I'm going to use the C word, crazy.
No. Well, it's important to understand that everything you have been through at this point in life, though it was a real moment at the time, now it's just in your memory. And it's important to distinguish what is me and what is my memory.
Wow. What is happening right now versus what has happened.
And when you do that, you're able to embrace what you've remembered with compassion. And then you can turn this bitterness into sweetness. But if you identify with...
Give me an example so I can understand.
Okay, so in my life, I've experienced abuse also, emotional, physical abuse, and just different aspects of my life. And at the time, I was bitter. But the more I removed myself from that, and the more I paid attention to what is in my experience in this moment, the more I increased my ability just to be aware. Not to be aware of anything, but just simply to be aware. The more I was able to bring the full intensity of those memories back into my awareness. And when this happens, a magical process of consecration occurs where you are able to extract the lesson from the wound, and that is what stays with you. And then the memory, the pain of the memory just becomes an echo. So though it can come back, there's no emotional reaction to it, but the lesson is there.
So what I heard you say is that when a memory pops up for me, this is how I'm processing it, is to, one, recognize that it's the memory.
Yeah.
Two, which then the benefit of that for me would be, it wasn't my fault. And it's not the sum totality of who I am. My lived experience doesn't equate to who I am. And also to look at the situation, the experience, whatever it is. So I received this text message from my son that was distressing. I guess the gratitude in that would be, Belle, you have received a text message from your son, which is great. Okay, there's the gratitude. And also how you reacted is telling where you are in your development. So extract that lesson. And the lesson for me was, it's dating back to abuse from men. And so how I reacted to my son was very calm. But I also said to him, and I'm not proud of it, I said, are you thinking about hurting me? Because I don't feel safe. And what I realized is that maybe my son could have felt like, Mom, I'm not an abuser. But because of my past conditioning, I went there. So the gift is that I still have work to do, and I saw what the work was. And I promise you, I hear all of this. And as I'm sitting here, once our session ends, I'm going to do my very best to implement this. I cannot lie to you and say it still doesn't hurt though.
Yeah. So part
and
of
the hurt is what slows me down.
Yeah.
And I understand that pain is unavoidable. Suffering is optional. I'm gonna be honest with you, friend. I want to be out of this pain. I want to be out of it. I'm like, yeah.
Well, getting back to health requires us to go through a withdrawal process when we have been addicted to a certain stimulant. And relationships is like a drug.
Yeah.
So now go ahead.
Oh, no, please finish.
So I see what you're experiencing now is the toxicity, the emotional toxicity of this relationship is starting to squeeze its way out of your system.
Wow. I'd like to add this. You said that relationships are like a stimulant or a drug. What has been happening, I've chosen to cope by eating candy. I've chosen to cope by drinking coffee. I've chosen to cope by smoking marijuana. All of those things causes my body to be inflamed. But check this out. Because I've been so used to being in pain, even though I know that it was affecting my body, I was just like, well, it's helping me feel better from this emotional stuff, but it wasn't. It was all making me sick.
Yeah.
So where I'm at right now, and this is why I booked this session with you, is okay, all those stimulants are gone. I've decided to stay single and practice celibacy. Boom. I've cut coffee, I've cut marijuana, I've cut sugar. And now I'm feeling everything in real time. And I think maybe I thought I was so behind, and maybe what I'm hearing from you is I'm not. This is the work, and it hurts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're right where you need to be. No one is out of sync. Otherwise, we wouldn't exist.
I don't understand.
So everything in the existence, it has to be in sync. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. Like, it's really impossible to be out of time, off time, because time, it's not a thing. Everything is just in this moment.
Okay.
So we all have this membership to the healing process. It's just some people are not ready to step into it, and some people are. But life is so patient with us that it's always going to initiate that process when we're ready.
That deeply makes sense to me. And as far as my son, I think he was so used to, I know that he was so used to interacting with me in a certain way. And he witnessed domestic violence. And as I'm healing, and I've had to change the rules of engagement. Like, we're not speaking to one another in abusive ways. We're just not doing that. And to your point, he's not at the state. That membership that is available to us all, he is not exercising that membership in such a way that is indicative. He's not exercising that membership in that I can see, because of the way that he interacts with me. But what I'm understanding also is that everything is in sync. He's at a certain state of development, and I don't need to judge that. Well, he's where he is. It's like I hold him to the light and have so much compassion, and I've also had to remove myself to keep myself safe. All of this has been very isolating, not having these vices and being willing to just be with self. And then when you're with self, it's like the quiet brings a lot of things to the awareness. And I think that's why a lot of the times people say, I'm afraid to be alone. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of what pops up in the awareness? I can say I've been there. And it's some heavy shit. Seriously.
Yeah. But the really cool thing about healing that I've noticed is it's a gradual process. Like, life will only give you things to heal at that point of your development of what you're ready for.
Woo.
It is that intelligent.
That's incredible. Then I wish more people knew this, because then they would realize that, hey, this is being presented because you're ready. That when the student's ready, the teacher will come.
Yeah. It'll only give you, this is a theory that just popped in my head just now. It's going to give you something that's a little bit beyond your capacity, so you can grow.
Okay.
So if your consciousness is at this level of ability to process, life will probably give you something that's a little bit outside of that.
To stretch you, the growth spurt.
Right.
Growing pains.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that I'm right where I need to be.
Yeah.
And that as I am continuing to press in and do this work, that is going to heal my magnetic energy. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
So what I will say is that what I've noticed is that the moment I decided that, hey, this is not going to happen in my life anymore, I'm done. All right, got it loud and clear. Let's just wait until it teaches us what we need to know. I've learned my lesson. I will say that in the past 2 weeks, I've had not just the experience with my son, but one former male friend who tried to interact with me in a way that wasn't healthy. So it's like there's this pruning process that's happening where it feels like the universe is like, hey, are you sure you've learned this lesson? I'm going to present it to you again.
Right.
What are you going to do? That determines if you break karmic loops. And I'm just saying that when you're breaking karmic loops and you are a cycle breaker and like all of the things, this shit hurts.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but that's why we have conversations like this. I mean, normally, in my opinion, if we were living in a natural situation, we would be in a tribe. We would be surrounded by people who are invested in our emotional, spiritual growth. And whenever there is a crisis that's happening, some kind of transformation, I feel there would be some kind of shaman or group of elders or even people who are your age who are all with you in that moment, trying to help you move through this process. And I feel that a lot of people avoid this withdrawal process because we're not living in tribes of closely knit people, and people are just on their own, and now they want to process through ChatGPT and Instagram and Netflix. Like, those have become the shamans now.
Wow, because of the false sense of community.
That's a huge problem, yeah.
I understand. And then
I think also it can be problematic when you are healing if you're viewing content, like let's say an app like TikTok. Sometimes it feels like a digital psych ward when I go on there. And I mean that so lovingly as someone that's been there in 2011 when I just could not take anymore. But it's a lot of opinions, and it's not rooted in sound, sage wisdom or scientific. And I have found on my own healing journey, when I've been viewing content from others who are spewing this rhetoric of like decentering men and I hate men because of this, it's been delaying my own healing. And let me tell you why. And I am a girl's girl. Let me just make that clear. I also really truly believe that this idea of decentering men has come from a place that women are tired of going through the experiences I've gone through, and we feel that the best way to exist in this world is by decentering men and making it a society that's more matriarchal. I hope that I pronounced that word correctly. The reason I feel that this can be problematic is that men were placed in this world for a reason. Men and women. We are all divine feminine. We are all divine masculine. We do need one another. This idea of division and separateness, I think, is harming us. That is why I said, how do I maintain with softness and not get to a place where I am bitter? Because I have to be honest. I have been in the place and space in my consciousness of fuck men. None of them are safe. Just know, and I don't feel for me that that's the healthiest, and I don't want to exist there. What would you say to that? And just like this whole idea of decentering men so that women can keep ourselves safe. And I think in the final question along these lines would be, how do we magnetize safe men?
What was the last part?
And how do we magnetize safe men into our world?
Okay. So decentralizing men is, I mean, there's some truth to that, because we shouldn't centralize any human being. We should centralize God. So, but to demonize men, that's definitely a problem, because to get in this form of being a human, whether you're a man or a woman, you need both a man and a woman to get here. So for me to get here, a man and a woman had to come together. So within me, there is both the qualities of a man and a woman. which no one's talking about. And for you to get here, again, there's the qualities of both a man and a woman.
Bars.
So to exclude a part of yourself is just nonsense, because it's never going to work.
How does a woman heal her inner masculine?
That's a good question.
I think it's important for me to know, because I haven't had that template from a masculine that was safe, and my inner masculine. Okay, thank you. You've helped me here. I realize this. My inner masculine has been wounded, which is why I magnetized wounded masculines. So then where's the solution? How do I heal?
Again, it goes back to resisting temptation. Because for me, masculinity is about protection. And if just me as an individual, how I have protected and nurtured my femininity is I've turned myself into, as best as I can at this point in time, I've turned myself into a still, stable person. And every time I pull that masculine muscle of if my feminine side wants novelty, like there's a immature expression of the feminine that just wants novelty just for novelty, and this has caused me lots of trouble, and this can just take you on to all kinds of side quests that lead you nowhere. So if you as the masculine counterpart just within yourself have a certain vision about where you want your life to go, and this becomes the lead of your life, this still consistent direction, then this is how to heal it, in my experience. But this is a very interesting question, because in my experience, I've seen that women, they naturally want to, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
women naturally have more of a submissive attitude towards life. So submitting to the wrong expression, this is what causes a lack of faith in masculinity in totality. Because
What does submission mean to you?
So sub means below, mission means some kind of journey you're going towards. So if you are in submission, then you have decided you're going to be below another's mission and follow them.
Okay. Do you think that's a woman's natural state of being, or do you think that that's how we've been socialized?
It's a tricky question. I think naturally, if a woman comes across a force that she recognizes in her being that is of a vision that benefits the collective, I think naturally she would be submissive and try to help on that journey. But I don't feel that women who come across a force that is not worthy to follow, I don't think they're naturally submissive. I don't think so.
The reason why I ask is when I think about submission, I wonder if that is a human trait. Some people submit to their vices. Some people submit to, right? So that's why I asked. I do, as a woman, feel that our natural side of nature can cause us to be, it can cause us to lean in and be willing to, yes, give of ourselves and submit. And yes. The harmful religious ideology has distorted that. One of the things that really stood out to me earlier you talked about masculinity. You used the word protection. And I thought, well, if I've never been protected as a child, and then I grew up not protecting myself, that's been a disconnection from my masculinity.
Right.
And also, I was so in my wounded feminine that I never really, I had some logic, but a lot of it was led by emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And that also, the novelty piece, that also tripped me up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm overstanding in this conversation is that these situations that I've gone through have been opportunities to look at myself. What I see is a woman who is right where she needs to be and is healed. And in order to heal my masculinity, it's the ability to release, to forgive for myself, and really to surround myself with men that are safe so that I can reprogram myself and deprogram.
Yeah. And another thing that comes to mind from healing your masculine side is setting a standard and not going below it. No matter what.
Can you expand on that?
So, a standard is a certain platform that you have established for yourself that allows you to stand and walk and act and do everything that you would like to do. Mm-hmm. And just like in a romantic relationship, the masculine counterpart would be the base of the relationship, and the feminine would flourish on top of the base in various ways. Mm-hmm. So setting a certain standard is you enforcing your masculine side that says, no matter what, I'm not breaking this base for nothing. Mm. And because there's certain levels of masculine development, if your standard is at this level and you're not going below it, this means you're going to transcend all these lower levels of masculinity that will manifest across our population.
Wow. What do you believe could be a really healthy standard for women for women?
So if you observe that the man you're speaking with has no emotional availability, do not deal with him whatsoever. If he doesn't know how to listen, if he cannot submit to what you're saying in that moment just so he can understand what you're saying, then don't deal with him. Because that will that's a domino effect. That's smoke, and fire is coming after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That resonates deeply. It makes me think about healing our own internal value systems and the worthiness wound, and the realization that, you do deserve, Brent, to have standards. And to set those, and the remembrance that if your boundaries were not respected as a child, you might have uploaded this program that you didn't have any boundaries, so that where were the standards? What I'm hearing from this conversation as well is that we can always create a new life. We can always make different decisions. If I didn't have I really didn't have standards before. I thought I did. But I get to decide now that I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think my last question, I'll have to book a part 2. The aftermath of the pain, yeah. What's that process?
This is it's not easy, because you have to recognize what pulls you to the people who hurt you is the sentimental value. And there is something in all of us as human beings called the monkey mind. And the monkey mind, it's called that because it mimics, and there's unnecessary movement in that mind also. So one of the qualities of mimicry is you align with a group to feel safe. And this is sentiment. It's not because you actually have the same values, it's because at a certain point in time, you and this other human being were moving at the same rhythm for a long period of time.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Okay. You were on the same vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And together you did this dance.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you change the rhythm and you break out of that and you're holding on to the sentimental, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. So where I'm at, we're not trying to skip these steps. We're here. We're not picking up the coffee, the Tootsie Rolls, the weed. We're not going back and, if we're experiencing a sense of loneliness, I'm not doing that. I love myself. And that's the beauty of this. I finally learned to love myself. And that's it. That's it. I'm so grateful. I think that tears are the libations from the soul, and I think that I am a woman that has also had to be in my masculine energy a lot. As a Black woman, as a woman that was a single mom and a teen mom, and just having to boss up and be an adult early and raise myself in this type of world. There's a certain type of, not hardness, stoicism. It's basically a don't fuck with me energy, right? But it was a false sense of, it was wounded masculine, because if I were in my healed masculine energy, I wouldn't have attracted those that were preying on me. So though I was strong, right? The true strength is in the willingness to protect yourself and have the standards. And I think a lot of times women, we believe that, oh, we're strong because you handle shit and you can take it. You're no friend, you're in fight or fight. And so now my body is just like, hey, we're relaxed, and the cortisol's gone, and now you've taken away the vices. So it's been a lot, but I really am grateful, and I've learned so much. What would you say to the collective of women whom are listening, and even the men who love them, from this conversation?
What I would say is every woman is worthy of being protected.
Even the ones you're not sleeping with.
Yeah.
Can you say that again, please?
Yeah, every woman is worthy of being protected. That's just the natural order. And if you're in a position with a man and you don't feel protected, then he's not worthy to be in your company.
Period.
And he needs to go.
No matter what man that is. Your son, your brother, your father, your lover, whom the fuck ever.
Yeah.
And it's dealing with the worthiness wound of realizing, sisters, you deserve that.
Yeah.
And you have to believe that.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful.
Well, thank you for being so honest and open on this conversation.
Thank you for holding the space and all that you do. And I'm definitely going to be booking a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions as I need them, because this is what the work works. You're amazing at what you do, and I do feel 100% in my peace, because I know that I'm right where I need to be, that I'm in sync, and that I'm worthy enough to set standards for myself, protect myself, and that I can take my time to heal my body and my consciousness. I don't need to rush, and I don't need to compare myself to anyone else. And that's dope. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, peace. I want to do my outro. So you can leave, and I'll text you. Okay. Once again, another great episode of the Peace Build Shadow Work series. In my experience, I've seen that there are a lot of women who have come across abuse with men, and it is a huge problem because we're supposed to be on the same team. The fact that I'm here and you're over there was because at some point or another there was a man and a woman who decided to be on the same team for whatever reason. So no matter any kind of ideologies we have in our head about men are horrible or women are horrible, at the end of the day, we're all here on the same planet, so we have to figure it out. And when it does work, it can be like heaven on earth. When it doesn't work, it feels like hell. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's supposed to work. And if it doesn't, we're supposed to sit and figure it out. So conversations like this, they mean a lot to my heart, and I appreciate that people are willing to open up about it, because it needs to be talked about a lot more. So that is all from me on the Peace Build. If you're interested in booking a free consultation so we can discover your problem, there will be a link in the description below and in the bio. If you're ready to jump into a full consult, there will also be a link in the description in my bio. And that's all I got. Peace.